Right, so we've created our level manager, but we've got no items to manage. So in this episode, we're going to create some checkpoints and some coins. So if you want to go into your scripts folder and create a new folder called items, in there create two new scripts, one called base item, and I've called my second one triggered item. Once you've created those, open the base item up in Visual Studio and we'll set the base item up so we can get rid of all of this, and we'll just paste this in. Just need to use Cedarwood software data. If you have namespace let me try and get that correct. If you've namespaced your system, then you'll have to add the namespace like I did there, but we're going to have a base item that's going to have a public item. It's going to also have a public string for its name, an int for a unique ID, and a bool for its triggered, which we can link up to the item later on. So you can save that. That's all we need for the base item. And then we can work on our triggered item. So some variables. What we're going to do is we're going to make this coins and checkpoints. So I'll grab the first lot of variables that we're going to need, but first thing we've got to do is get rid of mono behavior and change that to base item, so we inherit all of this straight away. Okay, so the variables you're going to need, we don't need many, just two. We can have a serialized field for the triggered sprite, and then a reference to a sprite renderer. Okay, Unity based methods. Okay, we get rid of those. And because we're using inheritance, we're going to make our start version virtual so it can be overridden. Once again, we need to correct the namespace, and the set coins and set checkpoints are the user methods we're going to create in a minute. And then, because this is a triggered item, we need an on-trigger enter method, so let's grab that. Okay, we paste that in. What we're doing is we're just going to check the collision tag is player, so don't forget to tag your player. And then we're going to, depending on what item type it is, if it's a coin, we'll add a coin, or if it's a checkpoint, we're going to trigger the checkpoint. So now we need to add the coins and trigger the checkpoints and set coins, set checkpoints functions. Can't believe I said that without messing up. So let me grab those for you quickly. Okay, coins is fairly simple. And I've put these in their own regions. First we've got set coins. What we're going to do is we're going to go through each item in the list of the level manager, and if it's got a matching item ID, we're going to set the game object to false. And to add a coin, all we're going to do is call the level manager instance level data coins list and add this item to the list. And then we're going to save the level data and set the game object to false so the coin disappears. We can also add a sound effect in here later on. Okay, so before I get too far ahead, there's a start method. If you want to pause and copy that. There's only the two variables. There's the on trigger enter method. here's the coins method. Okay, so now it's just checkpoints. So let's make a little bit of space. Okay, paste checkpoints in. Once again, we're going to do a check where we're going to loop through the list of checkpoints. If any have matching ID, we're going to set the is triggered status to true, and we're going to change the sprite to the triggered sprite. We've got our trigger checkpoint, which we're going to basically check if we're triggered or not. If we're not triggered, then we know we haven't passed the checkpoint. We're going to change the triggered sprite to the triggered sprite. We're going to set the bool to is true, and then we're going to add the checkpoint to our checkpoint list so we can disable it, enable it, and get our player position. Again, also we could possibly play a sound. So there's the set checkpoints and there's the trigger checkpoints. Finally, we've got the last one, which is the add checkpoint. We're going to set the item position to the current item's position. We're going to set the item is triggered value to true. And then just for a sanity check, when respawning, we're going to need to change the order of script execution anyway, but that will just stop if you respawn it, adding it to the list again. And then we go to our level manager instance, our level data, we add the checkpoint, we set the current checkpoint to a new vector 3, which is the item position X and item position Y. We don't need to worry about the Z. We set the level data current checkpoint to the level manager instant checkpoint up here, and then we just save the data. So if we save that, jump into Unity, when it actually lets me, we should now be able to start creating some items and seeing everything in action. Okay, so we jump up into our scene, we create an empty object and reset its transform. We'll call this managers. And then we'll create two empty game objects. One will be the level manager. And one will be the game controller. Okay, and we can go and we can add the game controller component to that and the level manager component to that. Now you'll see we need to add a spawn point. Current checkpoint isn't set and there's no checkpoints or coins in the list at all. Here's our bool to use encryption, and here's where we can type our integer password. Okay, so we need to create a player spawn point. So if we create empty, pull that out, call that spawn point. We can now select our level manager, drag the spawn point in, and at this point we should be able and ready to test that it's actually spawning us in at the spawn point. So if we click play, we're spawned in there. let's just move the spawn point up. Click play again. And it's spawned us up there. So we reverse that because that's where we want our spawn point to be. So we know our level manager and our game manager are chatting to each other and spawning. So I suppose the next thing to make will be a checkpoint. So I'm going to open up the second frame. I'm going to open that up, and I've got myself some sprites already for checkpoint. I'm going to drag that into the middle frame and reset it. I'll drag it down. I'll change its name to checkpoint. Okay, I'll go on and I'll add my triggered item. It wants a triggered sprite, so I'll go back to my checkpoints and I'll give it the green sprite. Item name CP1, and I'll give it an ID of 100. And if you have a look here, item, we can set checkpoint, gem, power up and whatever there. We can worry about these a bit later on. So that's got our checkpoint done, so we just need a collider. And I'll leave it that big. Okay, so if we now click play, and if I run my player up to there, I haven't set it as a trigger, so let me run back, set it as a trigger, and it's triggered. Okay, so let me stop that, set that as a trigger, and I'll move it up just so everything's in order. So now if we start, hopefully we'll start back at this checkpoint. But for some reason it hasn't triggered, although it is, so I'll have to take a look at that quickly. I remember exactly what that was. If you remember earlier, I talked about script execution order. We need to go into our level control, go into the project settings, script execution order, drag our level manager in and set it at -500, hit enter and apply. That, and now once I click play, it should trigger the checkpoint. It's now green because it's already been triggered. It was red otherwise. Okay, so that appears to be that checkpoint working. So if I make a prefab of that, enable the end frame, and we'll drag that, where are we? We'll just drag that checkpoint to there. I've given it the same ID, which I shouldn't have. Let me just change the ID and the name, CP2. So now if I click play, I spawned at that checkpoint and it's green, that checkpoint's red. I've activated that checkpoint. If I click stop, click play again, I'm at that checkpoint, the flag is green at that checkpoint. So what I will do is I'll quickly just delete the save file and we'll just run through it one more time, and then I'll have to end this video here and we'll do coins in the next episode. Right, okay, one final test. Click play. We've spawned in this room. That checkpoint's got a red flag. We run through it, it's got a green flag. We'll run through into this other room. We notice there's another checkpoint up there, but we'll click stop. We'll click play again. And you'll notice we're at a green flag, we're at that current checkpoint. Let's activate that checkpoint. Restart. And we're at that checkpoint. So, as you can see, we run back and all the current checkpoints that have been activated are already activated and we can't activate them again. So that's checkpoints. Coins will only be literally a 2 or 3 minute episode because it won't take long, but I've taken up as much of your time already. So I hope you enjoyed this episode and I will see you in the next episode.